You guys might have noticed that this collated screw gun is no longer putting screws in very good. Turns out about 8,000 screws takes a toll on the drill bit. So I took a file to the tip of this and just filed off probably about 1/8 of an inch of just spur metal. I'm hoping it'll give us a little bit more life. We actually ordered new bits over a week ago and they shipped, but we never got them. So now we're waiting 2 more days to get new bits. The only problem is I've got a few thousand screws to put in today. I think the sun's gonna win today. Thought I was starting out pretty hydrated and doing pretty good, but I think working up here on the man lift and I don't know, getting dizzy a little bit doesn't make you feel good about this stuff. I'm ready to come down.
What a day, guys. Can you tell we're trying to multitask hardcore? So in yesterday's video, if you haven't seen it, check it out. We collected 10 gallons almost of cherries, and they're borderline too ripe, which means we need to do something with them ASAP. We knew when we got the fruit that we were committing to preserving the fruit, and we really don't want to freeze it all because it's never going to be a good time to can it. So I've been trying to work on that. It's a lot of cherries, and we only have one pitter, very slow going. And Jesse's been working on doing more sip tidy up. The next big task we really need to do is put all the hardware in on the roof, those big lags that are sticking out, and put all the screws in on the spline with the collated screw gun. But to do that, we need toe boards going up the entire roof. And before we get on the roof, we had to do a little fixing of our west eave panel. So what Jesse's been working on is replacing all the lags with different lags. The original lags we put in there are 14 inches long. Long story short, it wasn't accounted for that we were putting the drywall in behind the sips, which takes up 5/8 of an inch. So there really wasn't a lot of penetration on that panel, and it's a very critical panel. So Jesse just replaced all the 14-inch lags with 15-inch lags. He also made sure that that angle of the panel is where it needs to be, because when we installed it, we didn't have our method refined, and it was a little bit like that. So that's what Jesse's been working on. I've been extremely divided, having to move Jesse around in the forklift, so I haven't really been able to focus on cherries, but here's what I've pitted so far. I started with this one, which was the smaller of the two buckets. Haven't even touched this guy yet. You look like you could use a cherry smoothie.
I need something. I'm dying. I don't know. I need to finish my breakfast.
There's no ice in here. Are you kidding me? Come on, ice. Ah. If you guys want to know the best cherry smoothie, cherries, cocoa powder, real chocolate chips if you have them. I have a couple, so I might dump them in. And almond extract. Jesse insists on having peanut butter in his cherry smoothie. I don't want peanut butter, so I'm gonna make mine first, and he could have his second. On second thought, I'll just blend it all together, pour mine out, and then put in peanut butter. There we go, Alyssa. Now you're thinking. Oh yeah, don't forget the coconut oil. Dash of vanilla for good measure. Raw milk. Do you think there's a Greek god of peanut butter?
Yeah.
Here, try it, because then I want to top you off with this. It's not my best smoothie, but it's definitely drinkable. No added sugar,
Wow.
So could be sweeter.
Contrary to
Oh, drink a little more.
Contrary to American belief, not everything has to be super sweet.
Right?
Peanut butter win.
Sweet.
Nice.
Do you feel better yet?
I'm getting my energy back. Man,
It's pretty rough.
I was in really bad shape. I have a pounding headache now. I don't even know how that's possible. Like 1 hour? Well, I know we're gonna just have to get to a 5 a.m., 4:30 a.m. schedule, which neither one of us really like, but
Nope.
it's what we got to do to get the work done, right? So we'll have to just not party with friends, because that's usually how
I know, right? Every time we try to have fun, yeah.
Yep.
So we don't have fun.
It's all our friends' fault, really. Just blame it on them. Yeah, what do we do now?
So I guess, do you want to work together on cherries?
Yeah, that'd be good.
Okay.
I would like to work on the house more this evening, but
Okay.
let's let the sun go around the
Yeah,
corner.
if we can get all the cherries pitted
Yeah.
and get me cooking, no pun intended.
Uh-huh.
So unfortunately, the cherry tree we were eyeing and we picked from, maybe the worms got to it first.
Well, some of it did. Some of it's got worms.
So
it's hard to say
we're
how much.
scrutinizing every cherry, and anything with holes in the sides is going in the compost bin.
Yeah, I mean, it's free fruit, right? So
Yep.
why worry about it?
In the end, I'm pretty sure we've all consumed our fair share of pests on fruit.
You want to see one?
A worm?
Yeah.
Ugh, they seriously make my stomach like, you can see it? Oh,
There
gross.
he is.
There he is, yep. Little white thing. Ugh, so nasty.
I guarantee you, if you've eaten cherries, you've eaten a worm. See, anything with bruises or holes or, anything that doesn't look like basically premium quality fruit, I mean, why bother, We're making good food. It's going to last a long time, so I'm not too worried about it. Free food's good that way. And unfortunately, yeah, it looks like a lot of this stuff does have
Holes in it.
holes. Not all of it, but there's definitely kind of like runs of it.
So we're gonna work together and just kind of go through this, and then we're gonna pit what we need to pit.
It'll reduce the pitting, right? I mean, we're already going to reduce the pitting anyway,
Right.
but this should make it more efficient. And then, so what are we making when you say cook it? What are we making? Are we making jelly?
So I'm thinking
Preserves, I mean.
we want to do pretty much a batch of mead of every fruit that we get. So we'll do a batch of cherry mead,
Yeah.
which is like 8 cups, I think.
I think it's 2 quarts of fruit.
Okay, and then I think we're gonna pass on ice cream. So aside from the mead, I don't even feel the need to save any, like for smoothies or anything.
smoothies?
We don't really drink smoothies,
I
not
think
really.
if you really want a cherry smoothie, you should just go to the store and get some cherries.
So then the rest, jam, preserves.
Preserves sound great.
So
I tried.
we've been cleaning our cherries for a while, and I was kind of paranoid, so I looked through all these ones that I already pitted. Worms. Even the ones that don't have like pinholes on the side or are bruised, they have worms in them. Like, we're really confused because some of them have no holes, like the cherry is perfect, yet the worm is somehow encapsulated. So just as I sat down to Google cherry worms in your cherries, Jesse's sister calls, who knows a lot about this stuff, and she said that some flies, or whatever you want to call them, actually lay their eggs in the bloom. So the worm, the larva, is encapsulated, which is what we're seeing. So right now our ratio to non-wormy cherries is extremely low, and those are just the ones that you can't see like once you start looking, but if you look long enough you can usually see a little wiggler. So now we're kind of trying to decide, do we pick through all these and get like a pint or 2 of jam when we're done, or do we just donate it all to the compost bin? I've kind of made up my mind already, but Jesse's going through the good cherry pile to see if you're finding worms, and you are, aren't you?
Yeah, I went through about 2 gallons of cherries and picked out every cherry that's just like flawless, like has no
Worms.
surface blemishes at all. And now I'm just kind of going through them and looking, going through the ones that are like literally perfect cherries, and boom, there's a
So
larva.
I officially gave us worm smoothies, but yours had peanut butter in it, so that makes it a little bit better.
I didn't taste it. Yeah, so this is a huge lesson that we learned. So when we're doing urban foraging specifically, we need to be checking the fruit probably a little bit,
A little closer.
a little closer before we even go through the picking. I don't think we're
Yep.
out much because we didn't pay anything for this. It took us 30
The
whopping
fruit was going to
minutes.
go to waste anyways.
It was going to drop on the ground. And you know what's funny is one of the reasons we haven't picked that tree in the past is that it usually gets worms. And every time we've gone to look at it, it was like done. It was
Well,
destroyed.
I think the times that we've gone to look at it, it's just overly ripe, which, worms. So
Yeah, we looked at it and went like, yeah, the worms got to that. We didn't realize that the worms were in the cherries. Like, we were kind of looking at them and like, they're kind of spongy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we'll probably pass on that. But now that we're going through this process, every single one. So I guess the moral of that story is if somebody's not maintaining their tree, which this tree is not very well maintained, maybe ask, inquire, check the fruit, be more diligent. The good news is we're not out squat.
no.
So I'm not bitter about this at
It's
all.
a good
I'm glad
lesson.
we're learning this now. That we're not. Good thing we didn't pay like $100 for these cherries or something,
I think what's challenging, we all want to eat organic food, right? Food that's grown without pesticides and herbicides, and even certified organic food. That doesn't mean it's pesticide free. It's just like they're approved chemicals or pesticides for your fruit. A lot of organic farmers, they do something for pest control, Some of them plant other plants, some of them use beneficial insects. I think the truth of the matter is there's a lot of ways to control pests. And I think it could take a lifetime to learn all this stuff, but I think that's something the Master Gardener's course kind of opened up my mind to a little bit. I guess different pest management strategies. To the chokey!
Well, love, we picked about 10 gallons of compost.
That's okay though. That's still winning.
Well, we learned something. I think that's really what this is all about, right? Is becoming master foragers. It's knowing what to look at, how to size up food. I don't feel bad at all. I feel bad for that family because I feel like maybe, if they had a little more knowledge, they could really take care of that tree. I feel like so many of these trees are just neglected.
Oh yeah.
And we're trying to harvest some of the food, that's going to otherwise go to waste. But, I think this stuff was doomed from the get-go. But, I don't know, maybe down the road we'll get to do some education. I know you need to do some volunteer hours as far as the Master Gardeners thing go. Maybe taking care of these trees is something we can do. We can figure out how to apply some sort of pesticide or something that's not evil that will help keep all this food from going to waste. Because, I don't know, what are you going to do? About to take a bath in here.
So I guess on that note, are you ready to think about work again, or we can switch to huckleberries?
I'm not gonna go work in that sun right now.
Okay, wait till it goes down completely.
Yeah, what can we do with huckleberries? That's a good question.
Same thing, make jam, clean the ones that we picked yesterday.
So huckleberries feel like they take a long time to pick, but you don't have to pit them.
No, and they don't have pests.
So it's like a one-step pick 'em and can 'em strategy versus this is like 5 steps. So
if you get a lot of fruit and you're trying to find ways to preserve it and you're tired of jam like us, one thing you could do is make juice out of it. This whole section right here, various fruit juices. We have lots of cherry juice, rhubarb juice, black currant juice, apricot nectar. That stuff is amazing. And we actually don't drink any fruit juice at all, but we do enjoy beverages and homemade sodas or high quality sodas. We don't do cheap stuff, just stuff with the most wholesome ingredients. But what we discovered 2 years ago is that we can make our own sodas. How cool is that? This is my #1 favorite cookbook, and it has all sorts of exciting ideas in it. Except that recipe. No thank you. That doesn't sound very good at all. There we go, that's the page I'm looking for. So we discovered that you can make whey, or extract whey might be the more appropriate term, from raw milk. And this book has the recipe. It's pretty simple. Basically, you let your milk, your raw milk specifically, sit out long enough at room temperature enough to separate. And I think that's where curds and whey comes from. But basically, all the chunky stuff you strain out, that becomes your cream cheese. Or maybe your curds, I guess I don't know the technical difference, and that milky-ish yellow stuff you're left over with is whey. And it turns out if you put a tablespoon of that into pretty much any fruit juice and let it sit for 24 to 48 hours when it's warmer outside, boom, Insta soda. So last year I had this down to a science. It was fermenting so crazy good that 3 times a day I had to burp my bottles before I had this airlock thing. And they would shoot up like a geyser, 2 to 3 feet in the air. So I'd do it in a bowl, I'd catch the juice, I did it bottle by bottle, I'd take a funnel and I'd pour the juice back in. But let me tell you, that was the best dang soda we've ever had. Fruity and bubbly and completely natural and completely healthy. Except this year I'm completely at a loss because it's plenty warm outside. I've done the fermenting both in the cabin, which gets very toasty. That's where I did it 2 years ago and it worked without a problem. And then I've also moved my ferments to the garage where it's a very consistent temperature, more like room temperature. And I can't get them to ferment for the life of me. I didn't know it was possible to screw up whey, so I'm not really sure what the problem is. This is my second batch. The first one was root beer. And I let it sit out for 7 days and it never fermented. And this is kind of on the same track, which is really frustrating. So I haven't even been able to test out my airlock. So in theory, if we have airlocks on our soda, they shouldn't explode. I don't know if that means that they also won't be fizzy when you drink them. That's why I'm doing a case study, one of each. But if I can't get it to ferment, now what? So don't let my experiment stop you from trying your own homemade sodas. I don't know what the problem is, But in this book also is a recipe for something called a ginger bug, and basically it's just grated ginger and sugar, and there's naturally occurring yeast in the ginger that eats the sugar, and you can use it like you would whey, so you put a tablespoon of your ginger bug into your fruit juice and let it ferment. My only problem with that is that you have to feed it every day, and you can't really grate like a month's worth of ginger at once. You kind of have to grate it maybe week by week. But that works really well, so I guess if we get desperate, we'll switch to that. I might make another batch of whey, I don't really know. I just wanted to share this with you guys because it's so cool, and I know someone out there, if they knew they could make soda this easily, they would do it. Wow. Well, that's one way to get out of work, right?
Done and done. Can we just put the house in the compost pile?
Wait till we put our kids on cherry duty and they're like, but there's cherries in all the worms. Like, what do we say? Do we believe them?
Right? Just don't tell them about it. Well, the shade's starting to creep in on the house. A little bit up there. Now if we could just get rid of this pounding headache. There's the shade over there. Gosh, we should be working on that side of the house. Duh. I hear a raspy meow coming in. Wow.
He's so raspy.
You sound pretty terrible, buddy.
He just needs to cuddle. Come here.
What are you doing? Huh? What have you been up to? Did you just get up? Did you come here to abscond Mom's lap?
No, he wants down.
And to remove productivity?
I'm not letting him down though.
He likes a little resistance. This bugaboo's way.
Well, that's a little less raspy.
Hi, buddy. I saw a couple of dead mice in the driveway. You know anything about that? You don't know anything about it, huh?